Picture this. The week leading up to your big day, the weather forecast goes from a slight chance of rain to an 80% chance. Panic sets in because the whole reason you chose your incredible outdoor ceremony location was because it's an incredible outdoor ceremony location. Sure, you might have a plan B, but that's why it's a plan B, right? It's not as pretty, light-filled, spacious, or basically gorgeous as your original spot. Now, beautiful, I hope you're hydrated, well slept, and loved up, because today I want to set the record straight, once and for all, about rain on your wedding day. Whether it's a light drizzle or an unseasonal torrential downpour, I've got you covered. Today I'm going to break down, firstly, what you can do to prepare for unexpected weather during the planning process, because while rain is probably the most commonly talked about, heat waves and wild winds can still mean you have to move the location of your ceremony or reception. And then what you can do the week prior to your wedding when the week of forecast spells bad news for you and your original plans. And then finally, what you can do on the day of to make sure you still have a wonderful wedding day, no matter the weather. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Okay, gorgeous. Step one and first up, you need to be choosing a wedding venue that can weather the storm. Which storm? Any and every fucking storm. When scouting locations, ask about, check out and consider their rainy day or less than ideal weather day options. Does the venue have indoor spaces available? Is there a beautifully covered area for your ceremony? A well thought out venue can make all the difference to how inclement weather affects your wedding. And if you're able to, it's worth seeing if you can visit your favourite venue when the weather isn't that great. You can check out if the garden drains easily or if there are huge muddy puddles or stormwater drain outlets that will overflow. Can their veranda actually cover your entire guest list, or will some of them literally be left out in the cold or in the heat? What is the shade situation like at the time of day when you're getting married? And if your venue has a ceremony backup plan that's in the same space as your reception, you want to know if your timeline and their staff numbers make it possible to turn it all around in time. Because changing a space from a seated ceremony location to a decorated sit-down dinner, thinking wedding head table, centerpieces, champagne tower, photo booth, DJ, dance floor, it takes time and it takes people power. Make sure you know and understand what it would take for that room flip to happen, while hopefully keeping to your anticipated wedding day timeline. And if it's not possible to keep your timeline and make that room flip happen, what sort of a bump would it make? And in addition, if it's still raining at that time, so imagine you're in that one space, you have your ceremony, and then the room needs to be flipped, where are your guests going to be during this transition? Are they going to be lining up against the walls to allow all this to happen? Or is there a secondary space where they can wait, where they can have pre-dinner drinks or whatever is happening next on your timeline? Would it be worth either hiring a tent, a teepee, a marquee, or having a different ceremony venue on standby? Your choice of season can also make a big difference to whether or not you end up having bad weather. Keep in mind that while wildly fluctuating seasons have become somewhat commonplace in the last few years, that you still need to do your research of weather patterns in your chosen location at the time of year you're thinking of getting married. And if possible, avoid booking your wedding during the peak of the rainy season. While you can't control Mother Nature, you can certainly increase your odds of clear skies by being strategic with your date selection. Depending on the potentials you've discovered, you might also want to have a think about insurance. Event or wedding insurance can cover you for unforeseen weather-related issues, but also note that this can only provide financial protection, money back, after the fact, in case you need to reschedule or make last-minute adjustments due to weather. The best preparation then is having other plans in place. So now that you've done everything you can to anticipate and to put things in place in case you need them, because of bad weather, and then, mate, as much as you might have nightmares and or anxiety around it, there's nothing else you can do. Literally, you've just got to wait. Now, I know this won't stop you from obsessively looking at the long-range weather forecast, but anything earlier than a 7-day forecast is a literal waste of your time and energy. And even then, the 7-day forecast has a degree of variability about it too, but it's as close as we can get while still being able to do something proactive about it. So on the week of, seeing the forecast percentage likelihood of ending up in the rain or drowning in your own sweat, whatever applies to you, you can then think about providing comfort items for your wedding party and or your guests. If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Wedsites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests, with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy Wedsites is to set up and use, and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com, and enter the code UNbridelyPod, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes. So in terms of rain, this might mean clear umbrellas or rain ponchos, blankets, shawls, or hand warmers if it's chilly. You could think about serving warming drinks, so a coffee cart. Man, how cool would that be? Or you can hire some portable heaters. Now, for those in the stinking hot weather, you can offer hand fans, sunscreen, and serve chilled individual water bottles or have water stations. You could hire mister stands or fans too. And ice blocks and ice cream carts are a huge hit just after a ceremony. You're going to want to have a look at your timeline then. Be flexible with your timeline to accommodate the weather delays, and discuss with your planner or coordinator and vendors in advance to have those contingency plans in place for potential changes. And lastly, but please don't forget, communicate with your family and friends, your guests, your wedding guests. So whether it's through your wedding website, in an email blast, through text messages, or a freaking carrier pigeon, if there are changes to your locations of your ceremony or your reception or to the timeline, please let your guests know as early as you possibly can. And then you're there. It's the day of. Staying positive and running with whatever weather you are dealt is really important. So let's discuss what you can do on the day itself. Let me spell it out for you. Sweet fuck all. Because while we'll always hope and pray for the best, or bury a cooked sausage in your backyard, like Hannah Rowe's weddings from episode 57 of the podcast. Hilarious. You should really check it out. We can wish, we can hope all we want. It's essential to have that solid backup plan in place, but the hard truth of the matter is you can't change it. Understand that you cannot control this. You might want to have a cry. You might need to have a tantrum. But then put your big kid pants on and get over it as quickly as you possibly can. Also know that some people will be happy as well. And I'm betting your photographer will thank you for the unique lighting and romantic atmosphere on a rainy wedding day. Rainy day wedding photos, I don't know if you're across it, but they can be absolutely spectacular, like beautiful. And rain clouds also diffuse sunlight, which can mean more even lighting. It's not as harsh with the contrast. Your wedding photographer's probably rubbing their hands together with glee. It's not all downside. So keep in mind that throughout your entire wedding celebration, your flexibility and your sense of humour is key. I've personally had some cracker ceremonies that I've conducted in rainstorms, some outside and some inside. And every time it's been the attitude of the couple getting married that's made all the difference. Sure, you can be pissed off about it and you can sulk, or you can laugh it off and have the most incredible time of your lives. It all comes down to your perspective. So stay calm. Keep adapting as you go, because I tell you right now, plan B will quickly come and go, and before you know it, you're up to plans F and G and H, and you'll need to trust that everything will unfold beautifully, even if it wasn't what you originally had planned. And remember, amidst the chaos of planning, try and keep your focus on what really matters, because I can guarantee that moment you see your fiancé and you're about to start your day together, literally nothing else in the world will matter. Your love is at the heart of your wedding day, rain, hail, or shine. Tell me, because I'd love to know your experience of rainy day weddings. You can DM me at any time at Unbridely, and I'd love to have a chat with you. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.